got The Angel's Game by Carlos Ruiz Zafon today, which is now one of my favorite books of all time, and I highly suggest reading it. It has a little bit of everything that you could want in a story, well, for me personally, and there's just so much going on. It's entertaining and satisfying all the way through. There's elements of Gothic, crime thriller, magical realism, tragedy, descent of madness. It's also literary fiction. It's books about books. It's just everything you could hope for in one book. It's set in Barcelona in the 1920s. It has this kind of like black and white noir vibe to where everything's real dark and mysterious and foggy, and I just loved everything about it. It was one of the first books in a long time where I really couldn't put down, and after I finished it, and it's 530 pages. Usually I read books around 300 to 400, and after 530 pages, I still wasn't tired of it, which hardly ever happens. And so I went out and bought The Shadow of the Wind, which is actually the first book in the series, and started reading that, which I've read before and I didn't really care for as much, for sure. It didn't really stick with me. I was just like, yeah, it was good, and I'm like, I don't plan on reading any more of this guy's stuff. But I came across this book, and the back of it seemed even more intriguing, so I broke down and bought it, and then I couldn't put it down once I started. And so I'm already 150 pages into The Shadow of the Wind, and I can already say that I definitely like The Angel's Game more, which seems to be kind of an unpopular opinion. I feel like everyone online says they like this. Actually, everyone online, like, each book people have said is their favorite, and there's 4 books. So it's the first one is Shadow of the Wind, and then it's Angel's Game, and then it's Prisoner of Heaven, and then Labyrinth of Spirits. Which Labyrinth of Spirits, the English translation just came out in 2018, and so the series ended quite recently. And unfortunately to say, Carlos Ruiz Zafon just passed away 2 months ago in June of 2020. So unfortunately, we have no other books to look forward to. He was only 55. I believe he died from cancer, and that he was battling for 2 years. So he finished the last book just in time, and I now plan on reading all of them. I already have Prisoner of Heaven, which just came in the mail yesterday, so once I finish Shadow of the Wind, I'm going to jump right into that. And Labyrinth of Spirits is like twice the length of any of the other books, so I'll probably wait to get to that one, but I definitely will get to it eventually. But a little bit about Zafon. He was born in 1964 in Barcelona. He passed away in LA. He worked in advertising most of his life, and then wrote a children's and YA series before he got into the Cemetery of Forgotten Books. But even though this is the second book, I suggest starting with this one. I think it's a better entry, honestly. I think just overall how everything's set up in general, it's a better story, and it takes place before Shadow of the Wind, and it just like definitely has things make sense in the first book more, which is kind of why these books are considered a labyrinth and can be started at any point. You'll probably see different highlights with each reread, and I'm not much of a big rereader. I don't like rereading books really that much. I'm one and done, but I can say without a doubt this is definitely going to be a book that I reread in the future. And I can't wait to get to the next one. So, what is this about? This is mainly about Martin. I can't think. That's his last name. I'm blanking on his first name. But this is about Martin, who's a writer, and he buys this really creepy house and finds a mysterious... Oh wait, no, he doesn't find it in there. Mysterious things just start happening after he buys his house. He ends up getting shown this magical, mysterious labyrinth of a bookstore that's in every one of these stories, which is like kind of the main, like, it's not a big part of the story, but it's the connecting point through all these stories. Is this big labyrinth of cemetery of forgotten books where you're allowed to pick one book whenever you come for the first time and take with you. And he ends up grabbing this book that has a mysterious author that he's trying to find out who he is, and then come to find out, this isn't a spoiler or anything, but he's the previous owner of the house that he just bought. So a lot of weird things start connecting, and there's just so many different threads that come around. It's also a love story. It also has the apprentice and master relationship dynamic. It also has a Faustian retelling of selling your soul to the devil. It also has the crime thriller element where detectives are trying to figure out these murders. They think he's the one that did it, so he's kind of running around these people. And then he also has the relationship with Sampear and Sons. I know I'm mispronouncing that, but I can't say it any other way. Which is a bookstore that is it's like the main characters in The Shadow of the Wind is Daniel Sampear, and he's the son of the bookstore owner, but his dad is the son in this one. It's kind of hard to explain, but there's just this story takes over generations. Well, the series does, and each book is just like one generation, I believe. But yeah, so there's just a lot of different things going on, and I would definitely suggest writing things down, making a family tree, taking notes. I started getting some characters mixed up with other ones, and that was like my biggest complaint was like at some of these big moments where I was supposed to be like a revelation, I was just like, wait, who is this person? So it was just like, it took me a while to click. I'm like, oh, like man, this would have had a bigger impact if I like knew who this person was. And so it was kind of hard juggling so many threads. And my only other dislike really is he kind of has weird descriptions for women. It might be a translation issue or something. And this one definitely isn't as bad as Shadow of the Wind. Shadow of the Wind already has like some weird and odd descriptions of women, mainly because I think the main character is like 16 and is like having his first love for the first time and stuff like that. But still, it's just like, it kind of makes you uncomfortable. But he describes a woman's neck as a swan's neck at one point, I think, and it just like makes you like, what? But if you move past that, they're not like terrible. They're not like Stephen King bad, I don't think. But yeah. So and then everything else, I really enjoyed. It had all my favorite literary elements all wrapped into one. It seemed like, and I just couldn't put it down. So I highly suggest it. But yeah, so definitely 5 out of 5 for me. It's a top 5 or top 3 books I've ever read. It might change over time how I feel, but I don't think so. I definitely want to reread it. And what else? I feel like I was kind of all over the place. But yeah, if any of this stuff sounds intriguing to you, if you like books that are about books, definitely check this out. I know this is kind of my first experience with magical realism that I've really enjoyed most of the time. I've seen some magical realism movies and stuff that I haven't been too crazy about, and I think that's a big reason why I didn't like The Shadow of the Wind as much the first time around, was because I wasn't expecting or really knew what magical realism was. And so now that, and all these books that they're referencing and all these authors that they're referencing throughout, there's a lot more references in Shadow of the Wind. And now I'm catching those because I know who these authors are, know who these books are, and it just makes a lot more sense. But yeah, definitely go check out The Angel's Game. I highly recommend it for sure. And I'll be reviewing Shadow of the Wind and Prisoner of Heaven hopefully here soon too. And yeah, thanks for checking this out. See you.